Hey there, how there, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond. Welcome you to yet another Cutter Degrassiism slash Degrassi Top 10. And today we're going to be looking at the top 10 secret Degrassi villains in history. We know there's a lot of villainy in Degrassi, Albert Manning, Rick, Jay, um, Peter, uh, Jane and Lucas's dad, the Shep probably being a villain, and a lot of things. But these are what we call secret villains. Now, last week there was a Watch Mojo YouTube show about the top 10 sitcom characters who were secretly villains, and Ross from Friends won out handily. Other examples were Ted from How I Met Your Mother, which was justified. Lois from Malcolm in the Middle. Who else was it? Sitcom. There were a couple of sitcoms I didn't care about. They even had Lorelai. That Gilmore Girls wasn't really a sitcom, but Lorelai was. Oh yeah, Marie from Everybody Else, Lorelai from Gilmore Girls. I'm like, Lorelai, a villain? No, she can't be the secret villain. Rory is more so than her. Now there are a lot of Degrassi characters that could be secretly villains, but they didn't make this list and all that. Snake was a prelim to my top 10, but he didn't get enough votes, so I changed up. And you know, is it possible Radget was secretly a villain in Degrassi? Well, villain probably not. Inept, absolutely, but villain, I don't think so. I don't think he foresaw what would have happened in the Rick situation. If his foresight happened, I think he would have been fine. So yeah, so using the top 10 secret villains, I said, what about Degrassi secretly a villain and all that? So I did all that. And let me put this bluntly. I know that when I did the post about the links to the two posts, 1 to 6 and 7 to 10, people put Claire as a villain. Let me make one thing perfectly clear. Claire is not a villain. Why the hell is she a villain? If anything, the writers are massive villains because they gave Claire lots of strange, kind of unrealistic storylines. They have Claire basically trying to keep her faith and all that, but everything around her collapses. Her parents divorce, which questions her faith and all that. Jenna steals Casey from Claire. She tries it with Eli and basically blows off at Eli, saying he forgot about her, even though they broke up with each other. They gave her cancer. They gave her a sexual assault storyline that didn't get resolved Claire's way. They made her have a kid and do something in Degrassi history that had never been done. Miscarry. Claire is not a villain. End of story. Maya would be more of a villain than Claire. Trust me. But anyway, let's take a look. So we have the 7 to 10 poll, and this had 23 votes. We do have a tie for ninth, and I will break the tie. Ninth place in my mind is Manny. Sorry, yeah, 10th place, sorry. So number 10 on the list is Manny. Now, Manny to me is not really a villain. She's one of the most beloved characters in Degrassi history. But the fact is that Manny was kind of bad around season 3 and 4, people said, because of her um, being involved in that love triangle with Craig and all that. If anything, Craig should be more of a villain. And yes, Craig is in the top 6. But the fact is that Manny, you know, put her body on the line. I think that was why they put her in villain, because she wanted to be hot, not cute, for this guy named Soli, who basically wanted her for her body. Kind of like JT. Emma tries to warn her about problems. Manny says, you're just jealous. Emma could have been jealous, but Emma was being protective of Manny, but then they break off as friends. So anyhow, the whole Craig situation in season 4 as well, like she could have been a villain about that. And heck, I think some people might think that she was a villain for leaving Emma high and dry in season 4 and telling on Emma about Emma trying to break off Liberty and Chris. I mean, someone had to tell liberty that, and Emma was in the wrong about that. Trust me. But to me, I don't think Manny is really a villain. Well, a secret villain and all that. Like, she got bit in season 5 because everyone around her kind of failed her. Her parents failed her. Emma failed her in a sense. That's just how I feel. Number 9 is Joey from Degrassi Junior High and High. He's not really a villain in the Degrassi Next Gen because he's there, but he's not completely a massive presence. But Joey is number 9. Well, Joey's there because of his stuff in the junior high and high days. Immaturity, you can say, of being a teenager, but I think for him, he did some stupid decisions. His obsession with Caitlyn and all that. Him cheating on her with Tessa Campanelli. Obviously, he got bit. He deserved to get bit. But anyway, yeah, Joey caused troubles for a few people, especially Snake and Wheels. It brings Will's parents discuss over Joey and probably get Snake in trouble too. Why those two hang out with Joey, I don't know. Joey should have lost everybody. But the fact of the matter is that Joey basically was kind of a prick. All that. He wised up in his next gen days becoming an adult. Number 8 is Spinner because he caused a lot of problems in seasons 1 to 4. A lot of people say, well, Spinner is technically a villain. Actually, not so much. If you look at the first 4 seasons, you can say he's definitely a stone cold villain. However, after season 4, you can't really call him a villain. He did some childish things, some stupid things, but what do people do? What can you do? So anyway, Spinner is by far one of the biggest villains around. A lot of people say, well, yeah, the first 4 seasons. I know I'm spinning my wheels. And that was not a pun. I know you're really thinking that was a pun, wasn't it, Jeff? No, it wasn't. Ugh. Not intentional. Anyway, so Spinner caused a lot of relationship issues and all that. He picked on Jimmy a lot, even though he and Jimmy were best friends. He basically was jealous of Jimmy's upbringing, and he wanted a piece of that pie too. He sold Jimmy's iPod, but he gave it back. And, he proved to be a terrible friend to Jimmy and all that. Although the one time that Spinner was a true friend to Jimmy was in season 1 when Jimmy takes one of Spinner's ADD pills to focus on basketball, but he becomes a prick and gets kicked off the team. Spinner could have easily told Raditch that Jimmy took one of his pills and all that. Raditch would have probably warned Coach Armstrong, but basically, Spinner kept it shut. However, season 4 really brought up the bad as a new. Let's take a. If you take away the Rick situation, yes, he was a bad boy in season 4. He has car damage because Paige took Spinner's car for a spin to crash into Dean's car as revenge for Dean getting off scot-free during the rape of her. I mean, it's unfortunately a all too real occurrence, even in 2025, much less 2004 when this episode first aired. So, Paige didn't get her justice. Even Dean's lawyer was upset with that. So Spinner dangles his car in front of Paige, and Paige has to work her butt off to pay for Spinner's car. And Spinner basically openly cheats on Paige with Manny. I think trying to control Paige. I just wish Paige had the wherewithal to basically tell Spinner to shut up and, I'm not paying for your car, you're fucked. But then Spinner probably would have done something about it. And of course, we all know the Rick situation and how he was a villain and bragging about the prank to Jimmy. It's just terrible. His bravado basically ruined him. And then he tried to double back, realizing that he was in trouble with Raditch because, if you don't see that deleted scene, you know that the only reason why Spinner says Raditch knows is because he probably figures that Jimmy will narc on him. But that deleted scene shows that Raj was keen to Spinner clucking at Rick and wants him for a talk. It just pisses me off that Raj never got to talk with Spinner because I think Spinner would have confessed everything. Nevertheless, Spinner and Jay concocted a plan to blame everything on Jimmy, even though that they didn't know he had a gun. Spinner should not have done that. Spinner was pathetic and all that. Spinner tried to redeem himself by telling the cops, but then Jay tells him to keep his mouth shut. And Spinner, for some dumb reason, decides to keep quiet about it. He should have basically, told on everybody. He probably would have told on him and Jay and not Alex. But yeah, Spinner finally gets caught in the end and gets expelled. He's rightfully expelled, although I hated when Hatzalakos said the line, one boy's in a wheelchair and one's in a vape because of your stupid, selfish actions. I mean, blaming him for Jimmy being in the wheelchair, yes, but blaming him for Rick's death, that's a little bit extreme. I think Hatzalakos basically was trying to suck up to the school board or some kind of crapola, but that was definitely not Hatzalakos. Spitter got better in season 5. He's put on a short leash. He joins the friendship club, trying to get everyone to forgive him and all that. It takes time, but they do forgive him. Even Jimmy does. And Spitter finally becomes a redemption song. And winning the 7-10 poll is Drew. Drew getting into the wrong situations. Personally, I think that Drew was stupid and all that. Some say because he had a massive concussion, he wasn't thinking right about situations. But yeah, Drew kind of caused a lot of troubles for everybody, especially in the first few seasons he was in, seasons 10 and 11. Basically, in his mother's eyes, Mama Bear, aka Mother Torres, that he could do no wrong. Drew does try to tell his mom his guilt about things, but Audra refuses to listen. She just takes what she sees. Blames Allie for everything, even though Drew wanted to confess everything. Drew basically ends up, you know, getting hated because of his mom interfering in everything. But basically, in her eyes, he can do no wrong. And let's not forget the whole thing with Drew and Bianca, and they killed Anson, and then Vince forces Bianca to work for him in exchange for keeping quiet about Drew's obsession. Of course, Drew basically causes a lot of trouble by staying close to Bianca and all that. He kind of gets Adam shot, although it wasn't really his fault. Audra does blame Bianca, but Drew basically bashes her, saying she's going to need your help and all of that. You owe it to her, and it is my fault. He stands up to her, and she backs off. But yeah, I think that Drew had the persona that that he got his mother's eye, and he can do no wrong. It's kind of like Ross from Friends, where I referenced earlier. Is that Ross? I think uses his parents as a way to get out of trouble and all that, saying they tricked me. But yeah, Drew does mature a bit, but he chases after Becky, even though that it was kind of wrong. I mean, Drew thinks he impregnated Claire, but it was Eli. But then Drew basically goes towards Becky, makes things problematic, and puts himself in Pill's crosshairs, not going to the prom. Drew doesn't want to go to the prom, but then when the prom boat was misbooked, Audra told him, fix the problem. You owe it to them. Drew does that. He gets himself in trouble with Pill, who doesn't want him to cross the stage and wants the newer students to realize that it's her way or the highway. I mean, what's there to say that the new students will know about the situation? She's going to probably just use Drew as a pawn to get what she wants. But unfortunately for Pill, that actually bites her in the butt. Not only was she kind of temporary, and the fact that Snake had little involvement in the Degrassi Nudes thing that they had to reinstate him, Pill would never have been principal if anything, even if Snake was not cleared, because Audra would have definitely used her powers for good and destroyed Pill. She knew the situation and everything, and Pill just basically overstepped her boundaries, and I think they would have botched her. So anyway, here we go. Here is the 1-6 poll. Did I do? Hold on one sec. I don't think I did that right. Yeah, I don't think I did that right. Hold on one sec. There we go. Okay, I just had to take screenshots. There we go. All right, so here's the 1 to 6. There was a tie for fifth, and I will break the tie. Okay, number 6 is Imogen. Imogen caused problems with Fiona and Jack and caused issues, like, and even Simpson. So anyway, Imogen seemed to be a good girl gone wrong in a sense. Like she had a relationship with Fiona, which was groundbreaking in a sense, but everyone liked it. She liked the everyone liked the Imogen Fiona gay storyline, and that's what they do. But anyway, yeah, Imogen was a decent person, but basically caused troubles with Fiona, getting her so heartbroken she drinks and all that. Fiona does, I think, and with Jack, in season 14, she forces Jack to come, or Jacqueline, of course, to come out of the closet to her parents, even though that it was not a bright idea. But Imogen just seemed to be a prick. Anyway, number 5 is Emma. And basically the muse for this thing in the first place. I thought for sure Emma was going to be top 3 because of how people kind of hate on her in the Reddit community. And, they think that she's a bad guy. That's what I thought too. But yeah, Emma actually ends up being in 6th place. Did I vote for Emma? I probably did. But anyway, regardless of that, Emma is to me the biggest secret villain and all that. I kind of look at maybe number 2 and number 3 being more so than Emma, and maybe put her in the top 3. But voting poll is voting results are voting results. So Emma, I think, really is a villain and all that. Basically, her butting into people's business for pretty much her entire next generation shelf life was causing trouble. I mean, she butted in with Liberty and Coach Armstrong, the false things. But I mean, Emma was confiding in Manny for one thing, and Emma was catfished, so she had a right to worry. But she could have easily said to Liberty, "I was worried about you because I got bit by somebody too." Even if Emma, Liberty blows her off, at least she tells the truth. She causes a lot of problems. She causes Sean to be in trouble because she couldn't keep her nose out of things. I think she was a jilted lover when Sean broke up with her in season 3, especially. She almost ruined Spike and Snake's relationship many times in season 2, even close to almost destroying their wedding, or she thought she destroyed the wedding because she told Snake about Spike possibly wanting to abort baby Jack and all that. She kind of gets Toby and JT in trouble too as they try to look at the strippers, but they fall asleep. So, anyway, good old Emma. She caused a lot of friction with Manny and her family and the lifestyle and all that. Just couldn't stay away from things and, did some horrible things and all that. And a lot of people said, well, Emma can't be a villain in the Rick situation because of the Orange Ribbon campaign. She could have been secretly a villain. But no, like that's not the point. It's throughout the whole thing. It's not just the whole Rick situation. It's basically seasons 1 to 4 with a few things dispersed afterwards. But the fact is that yeah, Emma did the Orange Ribbon campaign to gain friends, to try to destroy Rick, and possibly to get on Raj's nerves for telling her that her causes are stupid. Are you nuts? Yeah, so anyway, Emma did all that, causing a lot of people harm and all that, especially herself. Emma getting involved in the Rick situation kind of did bad things for her because, Rick had the gun to her. Unfortunately, Sean saves her life. Emma wants to cling to Sean for protection and for loyalty, but no, it didn't work. So anyway, Emma, notwithstanding, she caused many friction, especially season 5. I think season 5 she was a villain for going out with Peter and all that. Basically, she does hold it against Manny. I have the vibe that, because Manny's now living under Emma's roof, Emma can basically boss Manny around and saying, if you don't like it, lump it, go back to your parents. I don't care about you. I think she basically was saying she had control of Manny. After all, her and Manny were not friends by the time Rick had hurt her, and maybe she just wanted to control Manny and all that. I think that was just terrible. And then, causing things in season 6 after the JT stabbing. I mean, she causes Degrassi and Lakehurst to have a feud again, almost having a feud again. Ruins Lakehurst's cheerleading thing, and it was found out that Emma was just upset that Manny was moving on without her and thinking that Manny's going to break off with her. I mean, Emma had guilt because, JT got stabbed steps from her house at a party that should never have been thrown and all that. She was probably worried about massive repercussions, but I think because of the whole situation, Snake and Spike couldn't do anything about it. But the fact is that, yeah, Emma was terribly a villain and all that. She almost ruined things for Degrassi just so that she wanted to stay with Manny. It feels like, gay vibes. I don't know why. But the fact is that, Emma was a pretty decent person. But then, she wanted to keep Manny and Liberty close to her in the college years and all that. But once Manny goes to Hollywood for acting and Liberty pledges into the sorority, I thought she went to pre law. Emma was all by herself in the dorm, it seemed, because, Kelly was kicked out. So I think she was just by herself, or they would have found out and added more people to Emma's dorm. But the fact is that, Emma just wanted to keep people close to her. And then she married Spinner. I know I ramble about Emma too much. Number 4 is Ashley. Ashley being secretly a villain, I think a lot of people agree. There's a lot of Ashley hate. There's not a lot of Ashley love. I think Ashley's one of the most overrated people in Degrassi. But, Ashley did it to herself. She was portrayed in season 1 as being a overachiever, a go-getter who just wanted to be close to Jimmy and, having the friction with Toby being her step sibling. And then she takes ecstasy in season 1, causes her friends to leave her, and then she tries to fix the situation in season 2 and is upset when Terry and Hazel choose Paige over her. I mean, Ashley was in the right. Paige was being a bitch about this. Is that she basically was pushing um not Ashley, Hazel and Terry around. And that's the one thing and only one thing that Rick was right about Paige is that, Paige didn't want Terry to get out of her shadow. I mean, you know, Rick was kind of right. But anyway, Ashley does cause trouble for Jimmy in season 2. Turns Goff, I think, to try to spoil things for other people and all that. And then, season 3, she was kind of a villain for outing Craig and Manny's pregnancy. I mean, Ashley had a right to. She's a jilted lover. And then, stupidly, Ashley decides to become a villain by coming back to Craig. Like, she should have broken up with Craig for good. And it's like, hooray for Ashley. What the fuck are you doing, Ashley? So anyway, season 4, she stays with Craig to support him during his bipolar thing, and then she leaves for England. A lot of people said she was basically burned out and didn't want to deal with Craig anymore. Unfortunately, that forced Craig to be off his meds, live in the boiler room, and basically cause trouble for himself. And then she comes back in season 6 and wipes out Jimmy's rap from the song because of her being petty. I understand that. But yeah, Ashley being a villain, that makes sense. Number 3 is Sig. I kind of wanted Sig to be number 1, but I guess not. But anyway, Sig. It's like, he only wanted Maya when she was with someone else. And he was manipulative AF. So Sig, had a temptation for Maya, and Maya had temptation for Cam. During a school Olympics thing, Sig gets under Cam's skin and gets Cam suspended for a week. And, Maya then breaks it off with Cam in a sense. But then Cam goes to Maya's house to apologize for everything. Maya is happy, but then Cam leaves with Maya's stuff Al Hoot and wants to give it back. But Sig basically tells Cam to stay out of her life because she doesn't need you. Jilted lover? problems much. Unfortunately for Sig, he doesn't know that Cam took this to heart and mutilated himself in the JT York greenhouse. Was it by slashing himself? Was it by drinking garden chemicals like yours truly thinks happened? It's possible that it's a bit of both. I mean, maybe he found some garden chemicals, drank them, and then he, you know what, mutilated himself. I should know, as somebody who's been working at the soil compound at Canadian Tire the past 4 years, the past 4 summers, if you will, I should know about toxicity of chemicals and whatever the heck you think. But yeah, Sig was kind of a prick and all that. And he got Maya in a sense. But then they kind of drifted apart. And then Sig went with Zoe and went with a few other girls to try to get Maya jealous, even though that Maya didn't bat an eye. Maya then was with Miles, and then Sig wanted to break him up. And he kind of did. Yeah, Sig was a feeling towards Cam and all that. I mean, he should be hated on in a sense, but I mean, how is he supposed to know that Cam had these problems and was going to kill himself? I mean, at least that's one thing you can take away from it. But yeah, Sig was basically manipulative, used his gang life to get Maya to come close to him. He kind of got in Maya's head in season 14 in the summer movie. Maya wanted to be a lifeguard towards Miles, but fails her test because Sig got in her head. She goes to become a music executive's nanny, and Sig pops in to tell her that she needs to stand up to the executive, which gets Maya fired. And then Maya, for some dumb reason, decides to try to find Gloria and all that, which led to Gloria kidnapping her. And then, in next class, he was okay in a sense, but, he was a villain towards Esme. Like, you know, Sig and Maya going to the prom. But Maya wanted Sig to stay with Esme and talk to her. But Sig doesn't want to talk to Esme and causes Esme big trouble. Number 2 is Craig. I kind of thought that Craig should have won this thing, but I can understand why number 1 is number 1. But anyway, yeah, Craig, due to his cheating ways and his problems, blame the bipolar medication or blame him being bipolar all you want. But I think that Craig, even if he was normal, I think he would have been a cheating scumbag. We have lots of sympathy for him season 2 when his father basically beats him for almost no reason at all. And Craig is happy that his tormentor's dead when Albert dies. So anyhow, season 3 brought out the worst in Craig. He thought he could keep both Manny and Ashley. Unfortunately, though, he fails miserably. Joey gives him the details that he tried to do that once and it blew up in his face. Manny and Craig kind of are together. Manny wants to get an abortion because she doesn't think she's ready to have a kid. Craig wants the kid. Craig should have tipped his hand that he wanted the kid because his parents are dead. Like, he doesn't treat Joey that well. And, he wants some family member. And let's talk about it. Was Craig bad towards Joey? In a sense, he was a little ungrateful. He wasn't completely ungrateful, but he was ungrateful enough. Let's just say that. I think that Craig, should have been better acquainted with Joey and all that. That's just what I'm saying. And let's not forget about, causing friction with Ashley, causing things with Ellie, playing with Ellie's heart in a sense, and then getting on Joey's nerves. Guy was just a mess. And at number 1 is Derek. I think a lot of people figured he was there. I don't think Derek was a super villain per se. That's why he kind of qualified for this list. But yeah, I think people are right that Derek was technically the number 1 villain, secret villain. I mean, when you look at season 5, he wasn't that bad compared to the rest of his tenure. Like season 5, he does try to talk to Liberty about giving up the baby for adoption. And then basically he tells Liberty to make a memory chest for the kid that's going to Seattle. But then season 6, he starts getting a little bit more douchier and douchier and douchier and all that. The whole thing with Perino, like, he does have some blame, but not full blame. I mean, when it comes down to it, Perino had been the jerk and all that. It's usually the adult that doesn't act like an adult in the situation. Yes, Derek and Danny got in trouble for spilling coffee on Perino and talking in class and not taking his stuff seriously. And Perino was not too happy about it. But Perino should have taken a better approach, a calmer approach. At the bus stop, Derek bumps into Perino, and Perino basically blows a stack at Derek and calls him out by names and doesn't care about him, even though Derek was trying to apologize and for everything. That's when Derek decides to tell Simpson about it, and Perino tries to change his tone to get in Snake's good books, but Derek tells Snake about this, and Snake basically tells Perino off. I think the end result was that Perino was forced to take some time off from teaching because he wasn't in too many episodes after that until like mid season 7, and Perino kind of cooled down. I think when you get older, you mellow a bit. But still, yeah. I mean, the dude basically had a toxic friendship with Danny, and he, you know, stupidly decides that he wants Rachel, who is a former Lakehurst student, in season 7, and frames Danny for stealing. Kind of a racist undertone, in a sense. But yeah, like Derek and Danny do break off as friends for a while, but they somehow manage to stay together. Kind of pathetic. Danny deserved better. Yeah, and of course, let's not forget season 8. Derek part of the football team, them harassing Jane and basically hurting her. Jane fights back, and then Shep throws almost throws the whole team under the bus for what happened, and tells Jane, "I can't give you special treatment. Boys will be boys." I mean, okay, he doesn't want to show favoritism to Jane, but the fact is that Jane got herself hurt, and Shep doesn't do a damn thing about it. Shep was definitely a villain. I think as an adult, he was the most secret villain. Mama Torres probably number 2, but yes. But the fact of the matter was that, Derek did wise up a bit. When they did that demonstration about Shep and calling Claire a bitch and his policies and being principal of the year, Derek did walk out on Shep. So he kind of redeemed himself, not redeemed himself. But yeah, Derek is definitely a villain. Anyhow, I'm Jeff Diamond. Adieu.